Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, breaking right now.
Everyone that comes illegally will be deported, full stop, end of story.
Well, people have been waiting quite a while for this, but Nigel Farage will unveil his plan for mass deportations. There's going to be a speech tomorrow. We'll give you the detail ahead of that. Meanwhile,
I invite you all to join this government of service.
Service? Well, anyway, Angela Rayner appears to have a third home now. So who's serving who here, really? You know, Animal Farm, isn't it, a little bit? Everyone's equal. Some people are more equal than others. Plus,
will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions?
that's the same bloke, I think, who wants an airport in Mirpur, isn't it? So there we are. But anyway, the UK is facing social unrest if Labour introduces the Islamophobia definition. That is according to a leading counter-extremist figure. And
we can't have madmen out there shooting rockets all over the place. Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago. Little Rocket Man.
Well, apparently, President Trump has announced that he wants to go and meet with Kim Jong-un again and build a Trump Tower in North Korea. We're also going to be talking about a story on the front of the Metro, which is a crackdown on honour-based crime. It's another imported problem. Today we had sex offences by foreigners up 62% in a year. Tomorrow, on the front of the Metro, they're talking about clamping down on honour-based violence. But I'll show you my panel in a sec. Here we go. Joining us tonight, we've got the former editor of The Sun, who survived Nick Ferrari's wedding, Kelvin McKenzie. We've also got journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth and GBNews superstar Leo Kearse. But first, let's get those headlines with Katie Bowen.
Patrick, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 2 minutes past 11. Nigel Farage has accused Sir Keir Starmer of siding with international courts against the British public. That's as he's set to unveil his plan for mass deportations of illegal migrants. Writing in The Telegraph, the Reform UK leader said that he will announce Operation Restoring Justice tomorrow. He said a Reform government in 2029 would leave the ECHR, repeal the Human Rights Act and pass the illegal migration bill. The Times newspaper is reporting tonight that more than 100 asylum seekers have been detained for deportation to France, while a new poll released today shows 71% of voters think Sir Keir Starmer is failing to get a grip on the issue. Protests at asylum hotels continued over the bank holiday weekend, and fresh footage of migrants on Gravelines Beach in northern France was recorded earlier today. 2 people have been stabbed at this year's Notting Hill Carnival as police made a total of 423 arrests so far. The Metropolitan Police, giving their policing update tonight, say neither stabbings have resulted in life-threatening injuries, adding that 223 arrests have been made so far today. The number of arrests for yesterday has been revised up to 200. Of those numbers, 32 arrests were made for assaults on police and 46 for possession of a weapon. 3 people have died and a 4th remains in hospital in a serious condition following a helicopter that crashed during a flying lesson on the Isle of Wight. The aircraft came down near Shanklin Road just after 9:20 this morning, closing the route as fire, police and ambulance teams rushed in. Witnesses described it spiralling before impact. Northumbria Helicopters said that the aircraft departed from Sandown Airport at approximately 9 a.m. and was undertaking a flying lesson. Hampshire Police say that they are continuing to work alongside the Air Accident Investigation Branch to establish what happened. 5 detectives from the Metropolitan Police have been arrested over an alleged plot to suppress a complaint of sexual assault. The complaint was made by a policewoman against a senior officer. According to the Sun newspaper, one of those arrested is a detective inspector working on the Met's Directorate of Professional Standards. Detective Chief Superintendent Luke Williams said that the internal investigation is being carried out by the Met's Anti-Corruption Command under the direction of the IOPC after a referral was made to the Met in June. US President Donald Trump says that he would like to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un later this year. His comments come as he hosted the South Korean president at the White House earlier today. During the meeting, he said that his administration will undertake a joint venture with South Korea and Japan related to oil in Alaska. And the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, has said that the government has cleared the path for nearly 100,000 new homes to be built. The New Homes Accelerator has helped to, quote, break down the barriers preventing building. The scheme, set up last year, has helped local councils with blockages in their planning systems and has also removed regulatory hurdles. So far, 36,000 new homes have been sped up across England because of the accelerator, and a further 63,000 homes are also being driven forward by the initiative. That's according to the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. Those are the latest GBNews headlines. Now let's go back to Patrick.
Take the GBNews family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GBNews anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Welcome along. Let's give you the first look at Tuesday's front pages. The Metro cracked down on honour crime. This is things like honour-based violence, forced marriages, female genital mutilation. Again, it's another imported crime. We had the figures came out today that migrant sex offences are up 62%, and now we've got rises in honour crime. Let's get to the Independent. They say, remember Mariam, defender of truth and a free press. This is the story that Israel has apparently bombed a hospital in Gaza, killing, they say in the protest, independent journalists as well. The Daily Telegraph, Starmer sides with foreign courts over the people. This is a comment from Nigel Farage. They also carry a story about you, yes, you, and everyone you know, paying Angela Rayner's council tax on her. Let me just count this on my fingers now. I might need more hands. I think how many properties? There's a property. Anyway, you're paying Angela Rayner's council tax. Good for you. The Daily Mail. Nigel Farage is unveiling his plans for mass deportation. So we've heard some of the outlines. They were announced on Friday. I think he's going one step further. We're expecting a speech tomorrow from Nigel Farage. We'll bring you the latest. The Daily Express. Robotic surgery revolution to help cut NHS waiting times. It's a little bit like with the trains, isn't it? Like the DLR never goes on strike because it's driven by robots. So maybe if the NHS was entirely staffed by robots, then perhaps we'd cut waiting times. We wouldn't have to continue with the pay rises. But The Sun, Harry is so in love. Yes, Harry Styles parading through the streets with a woman. Yes, a woman this time. The Times, UK prepares to send 100 small boat arrivals back. Please do pay close attention to this story on The Times, because the one-in-one-out deal, which is not a one-in-one-out deal that Sir Keir Starmer signed with the French, came into force on August the 6th. We had 3 days to tell the French which illegal migrants we wanted to return to them, and then the French had 14 days to say which ones they were going to accept and which ones they were going to reject. And that time frame is up in the next 24 to 48 hours. That's up. So it's finished. So we should be getting the first deportations to France within the next couple of days. However, the Home Office tweeted out yesterday that it will be in the coming weeks. So what's gone wrong with this plan already? Will we get more information on it on the front of the Times? We'll find out. The Guardian, they go for global condemnation after Israel bombs the same hospital twice. All right, let's get the views of my wonderful panel. We're joined by the former editor of The Sun, Kelvin Mackenzie, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and GB News contributor and comedian Leo Kurz. First things first, let's start with the Daily Mail, with Nigel Farage's plan for, quote, mass deportations. This includes things like signing a returns agreement with Afghanistan and Eritrea, using a third country like Rwanda or Albania, and using British overseas territories, including the Ascension Islands, as a last resort. He's also going to personally attack Keir Starmer, Kelvin, saying he's on the side of international courts and not the people of Britain.
Well, the only puzzle I have in it, I'm absolutely delighted that somebody's saying this, and let's hope he does something about it, is how you can have return agreements with Afghanistan and Eritrea. Afghanistan...
Germany does now. Germany does now with Afghanistan.
Well, how does that work? What are we going to do? We're going to take these people and we're going to simply drop them back again, are we? I mean, I would be in favour of this. But everything.
I think that's the idea of a return. Yeah.
But every time I hear this, I always suspect that a politician, when push comes to shove, actually doesn't do anything about it. So that's my only question mark about it. If this currently will drive him home with the biggest majority that the British Parliament has ever seen.
But then he'll lose it all when he can't do it, because politicians don't have the power in this country. We're ruled by the blob, the deep state. All the courts, the judiciary are all completely aligned and completely woke. The activists have completed their long march through the institutions. I don't think any of this will ever happen until there's actual civil war in this country, and then we have to implement emergency.
Are you actually suggesting that there should be civil war, or that you think it's more likely than not?
I'm not saying there should be civil war, but I'm saying it's going to happen. We can already see the balkanisation of Britain. We can also see the Ulsterisation of Britain. You know, civil militias starting to spring up on either side.
Right, well, in my area, right, I live in a nice, swanky area. All right, I'm not apologising for it, and as far as I know, there is currently not a tax.
Do you have more or less houses than Angela Rayner?
I actually do have more houses than that. You know, anyway, she's a single mum making 160 grand a year. She can have as many houses as she likes. What I object to is the fact that she's paying double council tax, where a lot of people have had to sell their houses because they can't afford it, because they don't make 160 grand and they're not Labour politicians parking policies which can line their own pocket. Thank you. That's available as a podcast.
Just dragging us back before we get, because we're going to... Actually, I shouldn't have mentioned Angela Rayner, because I knew it'd set him off, and also we're doing it in the next segment. But, Benjamin, sorry, so what Nigel Farage wants to do, and this touches on Leo's point here, which is that he won't be able to do it because we've got too many laws, basically, and too many judges. Well, the detail on the front of the Telegraph is that he wants to do Operation Restoring Justice, and this will be forced through by using the illegal migration brackets, mass deportation bill. And what this will mean is that it would create a legal duty for the Home Secretary to remove illegal migrants. Failure to do so will mean that they are breaking the law. Under these new plans, if you come to the UK illegally, you will be ineligible for asylum. No ifs, no buts. And it strips the Home Office, immigration tribunals and higher courts of any jurisdiction over those claims. You couple that with leaving the ECHR, and you've cracked it, haven't you?
Well, we're not going to leave the ECHR, and if we did, it would take years to process all of a parliament if it were to go through, and you'd have to redo things like the Good Friday Agreement. That's why even the Tories didn't consider it. It's why Kemi Badenoch won't support it. But the truth is, I mean, Nigel Farage is just being a politician. Everything he tells you that you're going to have sunlit uplands, but he can't explain how he would actually get this through, how this would actually work, because it wouldn't work. And I think that's the reality of it. And also, when you talk about coming here illegally, well, there are many countries where there is no legal route, because the only way to come legally would be to get a tourist visa and then claim refuge, but they wouldn't be eligible for those kind of visas. And so there isn't a legal route into the country. So someone coming from Sudan wouldn't only can come here illegally.
Legal route for people coming from Sudan. If you're in Sudan and you're like, oh, my country that has sprung from my culture is bad and I don't like it, either change your country or seek refuge in a neighbouring country. So what? In a culturally similar country. Don't come all the way to Dundee. That's a nonsensical proposition.
Well, no one wants to go to Dundee, but I think actually we're getting...
I represent the Dundee Liberation Army.
We're getting refugees from Dundee, I think. But, you know, I think that's a distinctly un-British attitude. You know, would you say that to the Jews that came here in the 40s, right? They were fleeing persecution.
They were culturally similar, and that's I mean, it's quite othering for you to say that Jews wouldn't fit in this country. Jews
I didn't say that.
Incredible contribution to this country.
I didn't say any of that. I used that as an example that we are proud of it working well, and therefore they were in a situation of persecution because of who they were, and there was a war. Why don't we do that today for other countries?
Guys, I've just got some breaking news for you, and it is an exclusive from our very own Mark White, I believe, our Home Security editor. Almost 900 small boat migrants crossed the Channel over the bank holiday weekend, taking the total since Labour came to power to more than 52,000. I'll give you that again. Almost 900 small boat migrants crossed the Channel over the bank holiday weekend. That figure is now nearly 52,000 since Labour came to power. GB News exclusive figures show 655 arrived in UK waters today. That's Monday, today. On Sunday, 212 migrants made their illegal journey in the dinghies. Right, let's bring up, on that note, the front page of The Times, because the UK prepares to send 100 small boat arrivals back. More than 100 asylum seekers have been detained for deportation to France as Sir Keir Starmer steps up his plan to tackle the small boats crisis. The Prime Minister will formally implement his one-in, one-out deal within weeks. Ah, there you go, you see, within weeks. Well, sorry, but the dates don't add up here, Prime Minister, because this should be happening in the next 48 hours, unless the French have rejected the people that you said you wanted to send back. Kelvin, look, the numbers, just that we've got there, and the dates don't add up on this, do they?
No, but nothing adds up with Starmer, does it? He changes his policies often so many times now. It's an embarrassment to his own party as well as to people like me who feel enormously hostile to him. I must say that I don't know whether you saw that picture in The Sun on Sunday of Angela Rayner in that canoe off the Hove boat. I wondered whether she was heading out into the Channel to meet her voters. I wonder whether it was a kind of political PR act. Look, this is serious. It looks as though one in, one out turns out to be one in, nobody out, and which is what everybody's forecast. I agree, actually, with my socialist friend here, that these are difficult issues. However, Starmer has made them almost impossible. He is massively, massively disliked because of this.
So, if we believe what we read here, Starmer has identified 100 illegals that he's detained deportation, and they're going to be sent back in the coming weeks. So let's give them, that's a month, isn't it? We're a month on from here, and, you know, this is just not a deterrent, is it, Leah? No. It's just not. No. A month on, we might have 100 people sent back, but in the meantime, we've had 900 come in the last 3 days.
What use is sending 100 people back when 900 are coming over a weekend? And it's really getting to the point. I mean, I can't believe we had emergency measures during COVID for a highly survivable virus that, you know, I mean, I had it. It was fine. I
caught it off you, actually.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I was still walking around doing stuff, but you know, this virus that was apparently going to be this cataclysmic end to the country, and it was survivable by like all but a tiny fraction of our percentage of people. I mean, why can't we do the same for the people coming across? Why can't we you know, looking at all the crime, the sexual assaults and things like that are being committed, the long-term change to our demographic and our culture, why can't we enact emergency measures to close the borders now? I mean, surely we're at that point. Surely it's in the best interest of Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, just from the point of view of saving their own, like actually managing to limp to the next election.
Well, quite. I do put it, when you look at this now, this already has the strong whiff of a massive problem over it, because I've said to you, the dates don't add up on when the French are supposed to be taking them back, and the numbers certainly aren't adding up. But Benjamin, just on this, about a question of credibility for Sir Keir Starmer, because he staked his hat on this. Over the weekend, he put a tweet out that said, "Our plan for change is about putting working people first. The £3 bus fare cap has already cut costs for families." He was then community noted by this, fact-checked, live in real time. The bus fare cap rose from £2 to £3 under Keir Starmer. The guy can't even tell the truth about bus fares, can he? Let alone what's going on here with immigration.
Well, I don't think that's quite fair. As it happens with the bus cap, the low fee was going to expire and he introduced a new cap, so it would have gone up without him changing the law. But, you know, the thing is on immigration is that the narrative has set in that this is a problem not being sufficiently tackled. And so you get endless tweaking like this. Sending 100 people back, OK, that's 100 better, but it's not going to tackle the serious scale and how angry the British people are. And so I think the problem is that I wonder what he can do but seismic change to actually convince people, because all you're getting is day-to-day minor stories like this that isn't fixing the problem.
OK.
Yeah, but people... The trouble is we are seeing a whole load of pieces in a jigsaw, which when we finally fill them all in, our country will have changed and our people feel distraught. And when 71... I tell you what was amazing. So the Times poll said that 71% said... Well, what I was astonished about was that 30% thinks he was doing a good job. Who are they? They could only have been migrants. I can't believe that anybody can clearly say about that Starmer's doing a good job. So 71%. He would be out. Were that replicated at a general election... Honestly, there'll be about 8 Labour seats left.
Yeah. Quite. All right, look, we've got a lot more coming your way. It's a decent set of front pages for Tuesday. There's a really interesting one on the Metro, crackdown on honour-based crime. It involves things like female genital mutilation, murder, all that stuff. So we'll be talking about that. However, before that, well...
I invite you all to join this government of service.
But who serves who? A little bit like Animal Farm, you know, we're all equal, but some people are more equal than others, aren't they, Angela? Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Have you seen the president yet?
Morning, guys. No, not yet. We're just in the press room behind the scenes. I've got my Trump Turnberry coffee cup, though, just to prove to you that I really am here. We're waiting here basically until we get the nod to run out, hopefully to see Donald Trump and Keir Starmer together. These occasions, I'm realising, are a little bit sort of hurry up and wait. We think that the Prime Minister and the President might be meeting outdoors today. Yesterday, you might have seen Trump with Ursula von der Leyen in the amazing ballroom, in the grand ballroom here at Turnberry. Well, the weather is surprisingly nice for Scotland. The sun is out. It isn't raining. So there's a chance that we will get to talk to these two world leaders, but we won't be in the ballroom. We'll be outside, I think, on the golf course. We're just waiting to hear.
And what's the atmosphere like, Bev? Is there a lot of excitement?
I think amongst the press, they're all fairly used to this sort of thing. I mean, I still feel a little bit like a competition winner because I came on Air Force One, and I'm still really excited about the whole ordeal. But I think a lot of people here have done this sort of thing before. You know, we've had an influx this morning of the British press. So I'm with the international call who came over on Air Force One, and there are about 13 of us. But the British press are here as well today. They're all obviously keen to get their own questions into Starmer. It will be that setting where, you know, we just all go for it if we can and throw a question out in that direction. I got lucky on Friday when we were on the runway at Prestwick Airport, Glasgow Prestwick Airport, when we landed on Air Force One, and I asked him about immigration, and of course he gave us that line about the fact that Europe has to get its act together.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. So, we are going to start this round of front pages with the Daily Telegraph before we go on to the Metro's front page, which is about another imported crime in Britain, which is honour killings. But anyway, the Daily Telegraph, public picks up Rayner's council tax bill. So, over the weekend, there was some controversy because Angela Rayner was initially pictured drinking a huge glass of wine on the beach in Hove and then in a canoe in Hove, and then people thought, gosh, you live in Hove. And it turns out, yes, actually, she does live in Hove now. She's got a property there that she bought for somewhere in the region of £700,000 and £800,000. How? Not allowed to find that out, apparently. But anyway, she also got a primary home in Ashton-under-Lyne, which is where her constituency is. You might remember before the election there was some controversy that maybe she had two homes there. But anyway, whatever. She also has a great and favour apartment in London called Admiralty House, which she can have because she is the Deputy Prime Minister. Well, the Telegraph has just found out you are paying the council tax for her at Admiralty House. The council bill for Miss Rayner's flat in Admiralty House is covered by the taxpayer because it is designated as a second home. However, people are now saying, well, is it really your second home, Angela? Because surely that's where you spend most of your time, isn't it, Kelvin? If you work in Whitehall, your house is in Whitehall, surely that's your primary home. So should we really be paying the council tax?
It's absurd to claim that when you work in Parliament, that your second home could possibly be in Hove, right?
Well, or Ashton-under-Lyne.
Yeah, I mean, 50 miles. The idea of, for instance, it's a 10 o'clock vote or whatever time the vote is likely to be, that you then rush to where would you go to? Where would you go, Victoria or Charing Cross? Anyway, you jump on the train and then somebody announces that there's a train strike or something. It's never going to happen when you can literally walk 50 yards or 100 yards, anyway, 150 yards, and you can go to your home in the Admiralty. So she's clearly telling pork pies, and it's all being organised. The trouble is,
but good for her. I mean, in my experience, single mothers tend to be good at knowing how to work the benefit system and get things like their council tax paid in their grace and favour apartment. And I just think, you know,
well, she's on 160 grand, and actually, I'm pleased for her. Actually.
Plus she's done
160 grand, and single mum.
A lot of them are signing on in several Scottish towns, so you know she's got that as well.
Look, she's entitled. It'd be very interesting to know how she could afford it. But look, I don't know how much she would make after tax, but she's entitled to do all these things. I object to the fact that in some ways she gets a free council.
Well, look, let's think about this. I mean, Angela Rayner's, and indeed they're quoted, well, no, not quoted, they're referenced in the Daily Telegraph that it's that classic, you know, allies of Angela Rayner. Well, it's probably her, isn't it? Yeah, so it's pains to suggest that she's done nothing wrong by the letter of the law, everything's fine, it's above board, all of that. But Leah, there is, I don't know, does something stick in the craw a little bit? You've got a lady here who's fundamentally paid by the taxpayer, who got a leg up, which is fine, a leg up to get her first home. I think it was through the Right to Buy scheme, which I think was a Tory policy, which you'll never hear her praising, I don't think. So she's got that, so she's been helped out by the taxpayer to get her initial property, then she's been paid for by the taxpayer, then we pay her expenses for a lot of travel costs, for a lot of everything else, then we pay her council tax, and as a result of all that, it would appear she's been able to save enough money over the years to then buy an £800,000 property in Hove. I don't know, it just feels like it's not a bit hypocritical for a socialist.
No, but look at the amazing job her and the entire Labour Party are doing. No, I mean, I think our politicians shouldn't be, you know, held over the coals and made to wear a Hessian shirt and and suffer and wallow in the gutter. We should be giving them a decent wedge of money. They should, you know, if you want the top talent, maybe one day we'll get just some talent if we give them a bit of money. I don't know, I think she's done well.
I've got a suspicion here.
Oh, yeah.
I've got two theories, both of which might turn out to be complete rubbish, so buckle up. Firstly, I wonder whether or not she feels as though she's going to lose her Ashton-under-Lyne seat, and that whether or not Brighton and Hove is a safer bet. Now, Peter Kyle is currently there. That guy's been an ocean-going disaster, a complete dud, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's shuffled on at some point soon. I wonder whether or not she might move there. Brighton, you know, very left-leaning. The other theory on this is that she knows that Rachel Reeve is about to clobber Savers, and so she's thought, screw that, I'm going to put all my money into a property that property in Hove, so she's not got the money in the bank for Rachel Rees to tax. Benjamin?
No, I mean, Peter Carl's an excellent MP for Hove, and traditionally it was a Tory
What's he
seat.
done out of interest?
Well, he's the tech secretary, and he's a great guy.
With the online
I've known him a long time, and he's fantastic.
Don't buy a VPN or a child dies, pretty much. Every time you use a VPN, a child dies.
But I think this is really unfair on Angela Rayner, because Admiralty House is a property that a certain government minister gets, right? So she will have it for only the period of the job. It's obviously not her main home. She has raised her family in Ashton. She's lived in that house for years. It's going to be where all of her life is.
Her primary residence now. That's the point. Where is it now?
Well, she says her primary residence is the constituency residence. The idea that a government flat that you're given you would consider to be the main place where you live is quite unfair. And why should you pay council tax on a government building? It's like saying that the Prime Minister should pay council tax to live in Downing Street or the Chancellor at number 11, right? That's obviously not reasonable. And I think this is just trying to attack a working-class woman who's been successful, been confident, stands up for herself, and some people can't bear that.
The thing I object to about this is the fundamental of this argument, which is paying double for council tax, which is a ridiculous idea brought in, I think, originally by Gove, wasn't it? And I object to that whole idea. We want people to own stuff, and one of the arguments is that you drive people out of an area.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite normal. What happens is people can't afford when you kick off in life, therefore you go further and further out. For instance, I went as far as Crayford. Did anybody know Crayford in Kent? It was shocking. Even the dog track shut down.
Can I just get this? Sorry. As an MP for Ashton-under-Lyne in 2024 to 2025, Angela Rayner claimed £206,000 in expenses.
Seriously?
No, hang on. That's completely misleading.
It's not.
No, it is.
I've just Google AI.
No, hang on.
She's doing so much work. She needs to get around to all her important meetings running.
To get around to all our houses.
This was an increase. This was an increase from the £193,313 she claimed in the 2023-2024 financial year. This lady, as according to this, has claimed nearly £400,000, or more than £400,000 in expenses in 2 years.
No, you're completely misleading people.
Am I?
Because they're not. Expenses is a really dubious way to. It's literally the way they're described, but it's wrong because that is the money for staff and for offices and for train journeys to and from the constituency and for resources for the office.
The train
so that
journeys.
is not.
To
be completely clear, that is not money that she expenses lunch, for example. That's the cost of an office.
Well, it's a bit, isn't it?
No, that's the cost of an office in the constituency, and it's very misleading that they call it expenses because it leads people to think that you're paying for coffee.
It's the cost of a rosé.
Sorry, but the point is this, isn't it? Angela Rayner gets paid £160,000 a year, roughly.
Yeah, but you don't pay the rent for this office, do you?
And on top of that, we also pay her staffing, any office costs, any accommodation, travel, probably a bit of nosh as well.
No, you can't claim expenses for food or drink.
Sorry, but you literally can. You literally can do it. Other people do it. David Lammy's department has just recently got in trouble for it because civil service have been claiming expenses for it. And it's because of all of this stuff that she can now afford a council tax hike on that home that she's just bought in Brighton and Hove that most people can't afford, Kel.
Well, so I just stick to my argument. I don't believe that people should have double council tax for second homes. I think we want more people to buy homes and let them buy as many homes as they like. They hire all kinds of things. They bring wealth to places which currently are completely going down the Kurgler. Now, in Wales, for instance, in South Wales, everybody's trying to sell. Nobody can sell their places anymore. You know, and that's the effect of these decisions of taxing and not taxing. I blame the Tories at least as much as I blame Labour.
But we're going to have to move on. But I will say again, Angela Rayner or sources close to her obviously deny any wrongdoing. There's nothing illegal, as far as anyone's aware, here that's going on. I think for a lot of people, the points we're making is maybe more a matter of principle or a matter of alleged hypocrisy, which, again, as Benjamin rightly says, a lot of people see as just actually people being unfair on a working-class woman who's worked her way up in the world. But coming up very soon... Very soon.
Will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the profits of the Abrahamic religions?
And then when you're done, you can build an airport in Mirpur and do an Islamophobia definition. Anyway, the UK now apparently could basically face civil war if we get this Islamophobia definition. And there's another story for you as well. Of course, completely, entirely not linked. A massive rise in honour killings and honour violence in Britain. Gosh, where's that come from? Could it be places like Mirpur, where that MP wants to build an airport? Stay tuned.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have spells of rain moving through overnight, followed by showers on Tuesday, but it's still going to be feeling warm in the southeast. Now, taking a look at the bigger picture, this area of high pressure slips away and is replaced by this area of low pressure, bringing frontal systems through this evening. So we have a band of rain across Northern Ireland. That's going to push in from the west and continue to push eastwards across Scotland, into northern England, into Wales and the southwest, where it could turn heavy for a time. Dry still across the southeast, but otherwise still rather mild overnight temperatures around 16 or 17 degrees. So as we start Tuesday morning, it's a more unsettled start out there compared to Monday. We've got spells of rain across eastern Scotland, could be heavy for a time. Still across Shetland, holding on to that low cloud, but brighter in the west. Across Northern Ireland, a case of sunny spells first thing and a few showers, similar across Wales and the southwest of England. But across the Midlands and southwards, that's where we hold on to a lot of cloud and this outbreaks of rain. Now, this cloud and rain will continue to push its way eastwards through the morning. It generally starts easing and fragmenting, so not bringing too much in terms of rainfall across the southeast. In fact, it'll actually turn much brighter into the afternoon with warm, sunny spells, but elsewhere it's a case of sunny spells and showers, mainly across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Feeling fresher here, temperatures around average, but in the southeast, highs of 26. Now, as we start Wednesday morning, a cooler start, but unsettled across Northern Ireland once again, with a band of rain clipping into western Scotland, into northern England, into Wales and the southwest of England. Could be heavy and thundery, and that theme continues on Thursday and Friday, with temperatures close to average around 21 to 22 degrees.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Late Edition. It's another big segment, this, actually, because if we go with the front of tomorrow's or Tuesday's Metro, crackdown on honour crime. Now, this is basically about the growing abuses of women, including murder, forced marriage and FGM, female genital mutilation. The measures have been inspired, for want of a better phrase, by the murder of British-Pakistani lawyer Fawzia Javed. And they're going to include a new legal definition of honour-based abuse. Well, for ages in Britain, we just kind of weren't really allowed to talk about this. Like, if someone who happens to be a girl from the British-Pakistani community does not want to go off to rural Pakistan to marry a total stranger or perhaps even a relative, that they might find themselves in a suitcase to the bottom of a river at some point. Yeah. But this is happening all too often. These kind of just domestic abuse, violence and all this in the name of so-called honour in aspects of the Muslim community.
Yeah, when you bring people to the UK, their culture and their values don't evaporate when they set foot on British soil. It's ridiculous to expect people to suddenly become British. I mean, our culture going back millennia is based on individual rights. And in Pakistan, in the Mirpur Valley, in places like that, it's based on tribe and family. So you have cases in the Muslim world. There's been many cases like this where a girl's been raped. So the brother of the raped girl rapes the sister of the rapist, and that's seen as providing justice. Whereas in this country, we'd be like, well, that's insane. That's another crime. But over there, it's seen as balancing out the honour between the families. So this is a culture that's completely incompatible with Western values. And I mean, this idea that the two can coexist seamlessly is an absolute nonsense. I mean, I think this is why we're seeing so much conflict in the UK at the moment. We're seeing so much upset, and it's not just about the small boats crossings, it's about people who are already here.
I mean, Kelvin, there are a string of imported problems here. I mean, earlier on today, the stats came out that 14% of sex offences were committed by foreign people in Britain. So we've basically imported 14% of sex crimes in a way. And now we've got the huge increase in things like honour crime, FGM, all of that.
The only thing is I'm slightly older than some of the panellists here, and I've been seeing headlines saying crack down on honour crime, basically as many times and for as many years as crack down on dole scroungers, which is another crackdown one, which tabloid papers normally put on page 2 when they haven't got anything else to say. I mean, this is a serious thing. That lady there on the front page, she was thrown over a cliff by her husband in Edinburgh, right? And he wouldn't know Edinburgh in a light mist. So he found a place, he knew where to kill her, right? So these are shocking examples. The argument I always hear from the other side whenever we say there's 14%, they say, well, 86% was carried out by your tribe.
Yeah.
Right? Not saying,
well, not
actually, those 14% would not have suffered.
Yes.
Did we not have...
But also not necessarily, because in those figures, they very rarely include people who are not really British, but happen to have a British passport. So people who have come over here and been given a British passport, they will be classed as British. I just want to squeeze it in this, because I kind of do think these two things work. We've had a very open and frank discussion there about aspects of the Muslim community and the way that they view women and the type of crimes that some of them, obviously, will commit. And it ties into this, because there's an inside story in one of the papers tomorrow. Britain could face unrest if the government adopts a definition of Islamophobia. And the warning has come from a campaigner called Fiaz Mughal, who says that it risks curbing free speech, fuelling a two-tier society. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has set up a working group to look at a definition for Islamophobia, but it could stifle debate on things like grooming gangs, religious dress, the exact conversation that we have just had now. Benjamin, where are you on this issue of the Islamophobia definition?
I mean, I think Islamophobia is real and a problem and an injustice, and we accepted a definition of anti-Semitism, and so there is a precedent for this kind of thing in law. There is a danger, though, that if that strays into not being able to criticise beliefs, not being able to criticise a religious outlook, well, then that would be a step back on a much more principled level, the kind of thing that we turned our back against decades ago in this country. So it's certainly dangerous, but I don't think in principle it's wrong, because the idea that Muslims are abused in this country is obviously true.
But it's already illegal.
Hold on one second. When you say Muslims are abused, in what way are they abused? I mean, do they suffer from jobs? I just saw some stats the other day which actually showed that white kids who are not in education or employment are actually losing out in a massive way to the migrant community. All I'd like to know is to define how you would say that they suffer in some way. They seem to do rather well here. They do so well that they tell all their mates and they've all come over here, so it can't be that bad.
Well, most Muslims have been here for a long time. They're not recent arrivals.
Some Muslims.
Most of them came over 50 years ago from Pakistan and Bangladesh.
Most years isn't a long time.
Not most of them.
But you know, just because you have a job doesn't mean that when you leave that job, someone shouts abuse at you in the street because of how you look. It's essentially a form of racism. racism, and I think that's why it should be tackled.
So do you believe? So you believe that the Muslims are the people that are suffering rather than the majority who are having now passed laws in order to make sure that everybody feels happy about having them as their neighbour?
It's not an either-or, right? Just because a crime could happen to you as a white bloke doesn't mean that there aren't institutional targeting of Muslims.
What do you reckon to this Islamophobia definition? The idea that it will actually cause civil unrest?
Yeah, I mean, you can rearrange the deck chairs as much as you like, but the demographics show, the country's going to be majority Muslim. Muslim's going to be the majority, the biggest religion in the UK in, a generation, 2 generations? So it doesn't matter what we say. There are no majority Muslim countries where you're allowed to criticise Islam. I mean, if you look at Saudi Arabia, there's no churches. This is the future of the UK.
Well, what about the blasphemy? What about the blasphemy laws in places like Pakistan, for instance, in which somebody can still be put to death because they say something disobliging about Mohammed?
My mate's comedy club. My mate's comedy club.
But you've actually been to a lot of these countries, Benjamin, haven't you? So
well, I was just going to say there is actually a liberal, pro-Israel, Western Muslim majority country, and it's Kosovo. Which is, no, it is.
Wow,
it's true. It's the exception to the rule. Kosovo's incredibly Western.
What about this football pitch? What about this? What about this patch of woodland in the Balkans? Oh my God! Yes, see, they're not burning children in cages. I mean,
so there is an exception to the rule. But yeah, you're right. I've been to Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Lebanon, Afghanistan, and the authoritarianism is incredibly intimidating, and I think there are obviously big cultural differences.
OK. All right, well there we go. Some meaty topics for us to tackle there. Coming up very shortly, a bit of this.
We can't have madmen out there shooting rockets all over the place. Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago. Little Rocket Man.
So, President Trump apparently wants to return to North Korea and build a hotel there. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, there's plenty of sunshine across Europe and it's feeling hot too, but thunderstorms will be developing, especially midweek. So a bit breezy across parts of Madeira and the Canary Islands with showers here. Best of the sunshine really across much of Spain, but still showers will be bubbling up, especially across parts of Italy later and across Greece. But otherwise, temperatures still up at around 29 to 30 degrees. Now, showers will become more widespread into the week, but otherwise highs of 33.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Late Edition, and let's get the thoughts of my panel, obviously, but I want to get their thoughts on this. Former President Donald Trump says he wants to meet North Korea's Kim Jong-un again, as South Korea's new leader, Lee Jae-myung, visits Washington. OK, so timing's not great. In Oval Office talks on Monday, Trump signalled openness to new trade negotiations with Seoul, despite earlier criticising Lee's government over his handling of political turmoil at home. Lee, who took office in June after Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment, gosh, remember that, urged Trump to re-engage with Pyongyang, even joking that Trump could one day build a Trump Tower in North Korea. OK, so the meeting comes amid tensions, rising tensions, with Kim ramping up missile tests. OK, so basically I think President Trump wants to go and meet Kim Jong-un again and maybe build a Trump Tower in North Korea, Leo.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be great? That's how he solves world conflicts. That's what he was going to do with Gaza. Build a golf course and a few gold-tinted hotels. Problem solved. You've solved 2,000 years of enmity in the Middle East. And yeah, I think this would be great. I'd go and stay in North Korea. I'd maybe be quick down to the buffet in the morning. But yeah, this is how we solve things.
I mean, this is it. I mean, once Trump's, I think, done his bit to sort out peace in Azerbaijan. Yeah. He's, maybe going to be responsible for bringing the Ukraine war to an end. But if he could sort out the issue with North and South Korea, at some point he's probably going to have to get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, I think he should be entitled to it. If he manages to do that, absolutely, he should be carried in some kind of carriage around Pyongyang, or however you pronounce it. Yeah, look, the guy wants to have a go at these things. You know, a lot of people think he's balmy. He seems to achieve more in his, how long is it now? 8 months than most people do in 1,000 lifetimes. I admire his energy. Whether he's always right, how do you know whether you're right or not? I mean, how have you done?
But fair to middling.
Exactly. Well, exactly. I admire it. What about the hours he does?
What I did, Calvin, was early on in my career.
He's on television more than you are.
Was take your advice, right? Which is why I think there's been some hits and some misses, haven't there? But Benjamin, yes. So, what do you think about this?
I don't think he'll solve North Korea. He's not actually solved any of these issues, right? Ukraine is still being bombed, Gaza is still a nightmare. So he keeps saying he's fixed them, but I'm really not seeing the evidence of that. Kim Jong-un was seen the other day crying as he welcomed back North Korean soldiers who've been fighting for Russia, and he acknowledged North Korean soldiers that had died, which is extremely unusual for a North Korean leader to acknowledge any kind of failure. So I also just point out, given that North Korea is sending troops to murder Europeans in Ukraine, not a sign that he's on our side.
I tell you what, I'd like to see. So much human capital in North Korea. It could be the next Japan. It could be such a great country. It's ruled by this sort of British Labour style.
Do you know? but looking at the state of him, don't you think actually he'd be a great poster boy for Monjaro?
Is this Kim Jong-un?
Yeah. What would he?
Well, I think in that country it's a sign of
6 stone lighter.
Well, all right.
Huh?
Well, we've got to go because I want to round up tomorrow's or Tuesday's front pages. The Metro crackdown on honour-based crime. The Independent. Remember, Mariam, defender of truth and free press. That's a story there about Israel bombing a hospital in Gaza, apparently. The Daily Mail, Farage is going to unveil mass deportations. Watch GB News in the coming few hours because Nigel Farage is doing a big speech on mass deportations, his plan. The Daily Express, robotic surgery revolution to help cut NHS waiting times. I've read that headline about 50 times for over years now. But anyway, The Sun, Harry is so in love. Well done, Harry Styles, you pulled a woman. The Times, UK prepares to send 100 small boat arrivals back. Shame, really, because 900 arrived in the last 2 days. The Guardian, global condemnation after Israel bombs the same hospital twice. And Telegraph, Starmer sides with international courts over the people. Well, that's the time for us. Thank you to our wonderful panel. Been a really good show tonight. Lots to go at. Breakfast is up next if you're watching the repeat in the morning. Make sure you tune in. Take care. I'll see you again in the evening.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have spells of rain moving through overnight, followed by showers on Tuesday, but it's still going to be feeling warm in the southeast. Now, taking a look at the bigger picture, this area of high pressure slips away and is replaced by this area of low pressure, bringing frontal systems through this evening. So we have a band of rain across Northern Ireland. That's going to push in from the west and continue to push eastwards across Scotland, into northern England, into Wales and the southwest, where it could turn heavy